Greetings, Boris and ghouls, and today's class is Head Shrinking 101, as only Dr. Von Mad can do. Need a head? There were a great many things that we experimented on in this project. Some of which we didn't use, some we did. So be sure to watch the entire thing before you proceed. There were a good many things we expected and a good many things we got. But it turned out to be, well, I think a cute little project. What do you think? Stay tuned. Hey guys, Dr. Von Mad here, and we're going to be working on something. I got this, my mom got me this jar. It's supposed to be like a Christmas ornament, but it's got a little lid on it where you can open it up and put stuff in it. So I've got an idea for another Halloween decoration. It's supposed to be for Christmas, but I'm going to make it into a Halloween decoration. Well, that's sort of what I do. Now, so, what have I got in mind? Well, let me show you. I've got some Sculpey here. What I propose to do, hang on, I'm just looking for something. I need one of those tea lights. I've got it here because I'm going to actually fit a tea light into this thing, and I'll show you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to cannibalize. I've got another set of them here somewhere, but I'm going to cannibalize this one out of this one right here. I'm going to cannibalize this one real quick. Which is interesting because what I plan on doing is putting a shrunken head in this jar. So let's see what we can do with that. But I've got to fit it in. See this? It's going to fit right in here. So I've got to make this thing where it can fit into this jar and still have room for the light and everything. So let's see if we can meet this challenge, shall we? So I'm going to grab now is my Sculpey. I'm going to get this gray Sculpey here. The color really won't matter as much because I'm going to be sculpting with it and it's going to be baked anyway. But what we're going to do is I'm going to try to, what I'm going to end up trying to do is trying to hollow this thing out once I'm done. So we'll start with this. I'm going to put my ring over here because I don't want to get clay all over it. So let's get a little bit of this. So I've got to be able to fit it in just so. So it means it's going to have to be hollowed out inside from the inside. So that's going to be challenge number 1. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen an actual shrunken head. I've seen pictures of them. So, see what we can do. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have to kind of press this out until I can get to the size that I need. And see, will this fit over the top of it? Sort of, but not quite what I'm wanting just yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to push. I want a completely hollow sphere, and then we'll add on to it as I need to. So then I'll have to probably shear off a little bit at the bottom down here so that it'll set even. See, I'm going to have this much bigger in diameter. So we'll have to keep working it out. So the idea is that I want to be able to set this underneath here and then have this sitting in here, and that's there, and it's going to be the rub. I got to make this thing small enough to fit in there. Either that or I'll have to figure out a way to attach a lantern to it or a lamp to it. So let's see what we can pull off. I have to thin this out quite a bit. It's pretty significantly at the bottom. I've got to leave enough room to get the jar in place over the top of it. So that means we're going to have to narrow it out up here at the same time that we're I'm going to have to make this a fairly thin thing. Now, it's still got to be able to fit in here, so now let's kind of see if we can work it in. It's going to hit right there. So what that means is that we're going to have to pull this down a piece and kind of make us even a deeper thing. Deeper and narrower. My hands are hurting. I'm not as good at this as I once was, I'm afraid. Alright, now let's try it again. Alright. Okay, right now we know that I've got too much going on with it. So what I'm going to have to do is kind of pull this little bell back in. And I may not be able to pull this one off. We're going to try it and see. Because I'm going to have to put some details and things on it. And that's going to be... Alright, we're still going to get too big. I don't think that's going to work. Because that was a good idea. It's just what I may end up doing is drilling a hole through the bottom of it then, and I'll mount this into the base and then mount a base on a false bottom onto this. So here's how we'll do it. I'm just going to go ahead and make my shrunken head. Now remember, a shrunken head is basically the flesh of a human being that's been kind of stripped away and skinned, and then they kind of just gradually pull down the size of it. So that's what we're going to try to do here. Now, we've got the basic shape. Now remember, since it's going to be like that, a lot of the details going to be much heavier and a lot more exaggerated. For example, the mouth is going to come up like this, a lot more pronounced. See, I need a fairly blunt tool like that right there. And I'm going to put maybe, we'll have to probably get some extra clay to put the stitches on there because I sewed the mouth shut. The mouth, eyes, and everything is shut on these things because they don't want the spirit of the dead man to escape. It's one of the interesting things they said at the Ripley's Museum was that when the ghost hunters went up there with all the skeletons and everything, the only thing that really set off their equipment was the shrunken heads. It's kind of interesting. So we need us a poker here, a poke tool. Let me see if I can find my poking tool here. There it is. It's got a point on either end, as you can see. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come up here. Now, let's go ahead and shape the nose now. So you're going to have around here and we'll do the same thing. Now, the eyes are next. Now, for the eyes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. Maybe you can, I'm hoping you can still see what I'm doing. I'm going to push this up like this. Put a slit right here in the middle. And smooth that just a hair. There we go. Now we're going to do the same thing on this side. What you want to do is kind of carve basically an eye shape, but you don't want to put an actual eye in. Remember that the eyes are supposed to be sewed shut. So we're going to be putting a little extra clay in there when we're done. Now, let's go over here and get this blade here and go ahead now. I'm going to put a little bit of a hole on top of the head, but I don't want it going all the way through, and I'll show you why. But I do want to cut the holes in the eyes just a tad deeper, and that'll all make itself readily apparent here shortly too. We'll try something. See if we can poke out a hole right underneath him here, and I don't think that's going to work, but we're going to basically put him in there like that, and then I guess we'll put some sort of light over the top of him maybe. I wonder what this is right here. Ah, now this could be useful. See something. Let's see how this looks without this light on. Oh, that's kind of eerie looking, isn't it? I think that'll work. So let me turn this light back on and turn this light here off. Then we'll hot glue this into place up here. May have to change the batteries, or I'll put some other way of holding it in place up here. This hole on top is because these things have usually unusually long hair. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come back over here and get some of this some more Sculpey. You could probably hollow him out a little bit and save on clay, and I'm going to try to do that just a hair. I don't want to distort the shape, but I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of lightning on this to kind of... There we go, just a hair. And we'll put that over here, and I'm actually going to use this clay that we just sheared out from under it to put the... I'm going to make some thread myself out of this clay to make the stuff on the face. Now, there we go, we lightened it just a little bit. Now we're going to use a little bit of this right here to make the stuff for the mouth. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that in like this and like this. And now we're going to take some more clay like this. Now we're going to come back and put a little more detail on it. That I'm going to kind of press that in, and we'll get this tool here and kind of work that in to make it look more like it's been kind of... I want it to push. I want this where it looks like it's been sewn into the skin. And you'll have the same thing going on over here. Now we're going to put one more around the mouth. But yeah, there's a whole complicated process towards shrinking a human head. And I don't I know that the tribes in South America did it. I don't know if any of the other primitives out there shrunk heads. But it's an interesting topic. Now, I'm going to use this right here to kind of make a hint that there's some thread going on here. Okay, that's going to have to be sealed on. That's still loose up here on top. There we go. Now, do the same thing with the eyes. The idea behind sewing the mouth and the eyes up was that they didn't want the dead man's spirit to come back. I think I may have already said that, but it's late and I'm a little bit on the tired side. So, there's that. So let's go ahead. We'll try a different technique, I think, on the other side. I got an idea to kind of really bring home this point that it's sewed into place. We'll poke some holes here. And I'm going to grab this piece of clay here. And this will have to be baked, obviously, of being Sculpey. I love the old Marblex, but honestly, Sculpey is a lot easier to work with because you're not as stressed out over it. It's got all the advantages of a modeling clay and all the advantages of Sculpey in one solid package. So that's pretty awesome. Alright, now I have to do a bit of work on it here. Now, seem to be shedding like a Sharpie. Alright, now, I got another piece of this thread right here. Lay that down here and let's poke a couple of little holes. Where's my poker? Here it is. We're going to poke it in so we can make it look like it's actually been sewn in, if I can. Use a tool to straighten it up with. There we go. Let's do another one. And this time I'm just going to kind of do that with it. Now I was going to have the idea of it maybe glowing through the underside of it, but you can't fit it into the container that way. But I do have some ideas. Now this, see, will fit in like so. And let's see if I can get this in here without bashing it up, trying to get the thing to close up on it. And I'll have to probably clean it off again. And then, let's see how this looks in the dark now. Or at least something akin to the dark. What do you think, guys? And it'll look a little cooler once I've heated it up, dried it out, and painted it. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Oh, try not to knock into him so much. I'm going to go run this thing through the bacon. I'll be back with you shortly. Alright guys, we're back. Let's see if I can give you a quick look at this. It don't look like much now, but it will. So, our next step, I'm going to try something new. I haven't tried this yet, but we're going to try it and see how it works. Get my paint rag over here, because we're going to need that, and there goes my walking cane. Alright. Got my cane over here because I'm having to sit down and I don't move so good these days. Alright, we're going to start with a little bit of black, but I'll show you how we're going to do that. It's not going to be like other paintings that we've done. I'm going to try a different technique. I'm going to get our brush, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 1 or 2 dollops of this paint, and I'll show you how we're going to do it now. I'm just going to kind of just, it don't even have to be a good one because you got all that gray underneath. It's not going to be that big an issue, and I'm going to wipe it down once we've got it in place, so it's not going to be that big a deal. That's another great thing about having that hollowed out on the bottom. So, because we can use a little extra paint on it, but when I'm done, I'm going to be wiping a lot of it off anyways. Kind of something that I learned years ago when I was working at vocational rehab. They were painting these horse bridles, and it had the name of the customer on it, and you had to paint it in with some ink-like material on these brass horse buckles, and then you'd wipe it off with a cloth. Same idea. So if it's not perfect, it'll be okay, because we're going to do this a couple of times with a couple of different colors. Kind of got an idea of what I'm doing. Let me get my brush out here. Now watch this. Don't want to put too much pressure on it. But what we're going to do is, it doesn't matter if you peel a little bit of the paint off. I just want to be able to kind of dry brush in the next coloring. Said it don't really have to be perfect, but I do want to kind of get all this excess paint off. I just kind of wanted to kind of highlight in this certain areas on it, which that does nicely. Now you can see it's kind of glossy and black now, but it's not as black as it would be if I'd put a full-on coat. Next, we're going to go in with a little melted chocolate and do the exact same thing. So we're going to wash our brush off. In this case, I'm not even sure what size it is. Michael could tell me, but he's not here right now. So, and it don't matter if it really blends too much because the way it's going to be done. So, just kind of wanting to. Now, if you really wanted to get freaky with it, you could paint it some sort of day glow color, and I almost guarantee that the weird color changing LEDs would make some weird stuff happen. Now, just kind of scatter this all over it, and like I said, it don't have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination, because we're going to be wiping it all off anyway, at least where it matters, and so that's on the face of this thing. Now, lay this down for a minute, put our lid back on our paint. Now, so far we've got $1 worth of $1 container here from Dollar Tree. I'm going to have to clean it off a little bit. I'll probably get a damp cloth or something to do that before we're done. Now, we're going to come over here and kind of just wipe down this thing and get all the excess paint off of it, because I don't want it being too heavily painted. But I also don't want to rub up against that and risk. This stuff's durable, but it's not perfect, so. Now, let's go ahead and do our, now the next part's a more detail work type thing. Now, if I really wanted to get too crazy, I could have, I suppose, maybe cut some holes in there and put the thread in my set and put actual thread in there. And if you've got time to do that and the patience to do it and the coordination to do it, then God bless you. But what we're going to do now is we're going to come up here and just kind of hit that like so. Now, and we're going to let, now, it's starting to come out. We'll take a look at that in a minute under the light. Put up that paint. Let's bring this down here. And let's see how she looks. Get it up under the light and you should be able to see it. Not terribly detailed, but once it's set in here, like so. Well, there we go. Now, let's put the lid on this thing and see what it looks like with everything together. Now, we're not quite done. I'm going to be putting some hair onto it in the light. But now, let's take a look-see. Turn off this overhead here. Well, that slid up. That's going to be something else that's going to have to be fixed. That looks really good. So guys, we're going to let the paint dry on this, and then I'll deal with the hot glue and put the hair on this thing, which I'm going to be making out of regular crochet yarn. So we'll be back with you shortly. Alright guys, we're going to do the last phase on this before I start adding in the hair. And that's going to be to kind of do a dry brush coat of white. Not a whole lot. I don't want to make him look too like moldy or something, but I got to have a little bit of white on this to kind of bring out, there's some details that aren't showing up otherwise. What you want to do is just barely get the minimum that you need for it. Just kind of wipe it down and just kind of do this, and then kind of make sure you don't have too much on it, because we don't really want it. We want the details to pop up without changing the color fundamentally. So, and that's basically what you're dealing with, is a little ball made of leather. Granted, it came from someone's face, but and someone's head. But that doesn't mean it can't look good. See, now you're starting to get that detail popping now. Alright, now, it's kind of, if you see it where you're getting a little too much white, like right there, just kind of wipe it off, because you don't want to have too much in there. See, there's the hole, that's where the yarn's going to go in to make the hair. So I'm just barely tapping this, getting just a bare minimum of what I need here. See, on the back you're going to have, it's not quite as clean. So we're going to come over and we're going to just kind of get just a hint of the paint that we need. There we go. It's a little more than I needed, but it'll work. There you go. See, now that's a very good looking shrunken head. Now, I'll be back in a minute and we will get the yarn and start making the hair. Alright guys, we're going to try this now. We've got the glue gun heated up. Go ahead and remove the head from the jar. So it sounds odd in and of itself. The next thing you would need if you're making one of these will be some black yarn. I've got some right here. And a pair of scissors and the glue gun. So what you're going to want to do is just kind of, you want to kind of cut where it's kind of an even length. Now the hair on a shrunken head's always going to look much proportionally longer than what it should be. Well, let's face it, the hair didn't shrink, but the head did, so you're going to end up with that, something like that. So you want to cut several strands of it, as many as you think you can get away with. Let me pull this back up here. And in this case, what I'm cutting seems to be about, I cut that one a little too long, about maybe 4 inches, 5 inches, something like that. Just depends on how long you want the hair to be. Now you can actually buy replica shrunken heads online. Some of them are made of cheap materials that are sort of, plasticky, and the good ones are actually made by the original headhunters, but are made of goat skin. So a lot of that just comes down to whether you get what you pay for. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of fill this hole on top of his head with glue, and we're going to poke in one hair at a time. So where's my poker? Here we are. I want to get one of these things that I don't really worry about. This tool right here is older than some of the people watching this video, so that'll be okay. Now I could have made the hole, I suppose, maybe a little bit bigger, but it is what it is. If nothing else, and I may have an idea just now. Like I said, a lot of this I'm winging as it is too, just like you guys would be if you were doing it. So, use a bamboo skewer. That might do the job. See, now you could also, if you feel like it's maybe not deep enough, you can always use a power drill or something. Or you can just kind of glue the hair along the top of the head, but I'm just trying to root it a little, trying to give it a little bit of a rooting. Because I don't want it to be all kinds of wonky. See, now we got just a few strands. We're going to try to do it like a doll's head all the way around the top. So you could also make all kinds of other things sticking out of this. Alien heads, skulls, weird dinosaur fetuses. Who knows? The sky, of course, is the limit. And I may have to stop in a minute. I've got some breakfast cooking. And we all know I don't want to do, it doesn't profit me to do this and burn my breakfast. I'm going to put a little more across the top up here. And we'll attach this right here. Come over here, grab this one, and swing this one around. Now, it's not going to be as luxurious as the hair on an actual shrunken head. I've seen them. But it'll make a very nice little prop. And that's kind of the idea. If I can keep my fingers from getting glued to the top of the thing. That's the big problem with this kind of stuff, is the glue wants to stick to everything, including fingers, which makes it hard to attach this. Really, if I was you, or if you're worried about burning your fingers, I would honestly go with maybe using a pair of tweezers or something to put this in, or maybe making the hair in advance or whatever. Like I said, I'm new at this, just like everybody else is right now. This is a new project for me. I've made shrunken heads before, but I've never actually attempted to put hair on them, so there you are. Okay, I got to get 2 more strands on here, and it's going to make him a weird little top knot, which is okay because this is a weird little guy. Okay, let me get this. I got these stringers coming off this hot glue gun are the bane of my existence. I've said that before. Alright, now get all this, because see, when you get hot glue involved, it starts getting these little polymers coming off here, and you got to be real uber careful. Now, you could leave it like that. I myself am going to trim it down just a little bit, and I just got my fingers stuck in that glue again. That's the biggest problem with this thing, is the glue is going to stick to fingers. Now, what you want to do is kind of tuck this around and under. And that also kind of neat in the fact that it serves as sort of a coaster. Now, let's see if we can slide the jar onto it without pulling his hair off. That's going to be the real trick of it right there in a nutshell. It's going to be trying to get this thing in. I got an idea. I have an idea. Got an idea. Slide this through. And thread the hair through. I wish I had a pair of tongs or tweezers or something. It would make this job 100% easier. So I don't want the hair getting in the way of the project. But let's see if I can pull this, push this hair over into this hole. It's almost like building a ship in a bottle, isn't it? Alright. Push that down. Haha, we almost got it. There we go. Now we'll pull this on through. Now. Now. Now that's cool in and of itself, isn't it? That's kind of cool in and of itself. But you could also attempt maybe to push this down in there, and the only problem with that is it sticks over the top, so we may have to dispense with the light, but there you are. One weird shrunken head in a jar. I kind of like it better like this, I think. I was going to put a light on it, but I don't really see the point of it now, because that's still going to make people pick it up and then completely freak out. So, that'll work. Anyway, just thought you guys might like to see that. I'm going to have to find something for that little bottle right here. If you guys have any idea what I could do with this, I'd be most appreciative. Now, set our shrunken head up here. And don't forget to follow us on Pinterest, Patreon, and Facebook. And I will see you guys on the flip side. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, and God bless. See you on the flip side. Bye-bye.